I heard from Shaykha Fariha for many years also, from my teacher Bernie. And Bernie always spoke of her with deep respect and with a lot of love. And he told us twice that we will meet Shaykha Fariha, that she will come to a gathering where we also were, but it was never possible for her to come to this meeting. So this is now a really special moment for Roland and from me, that we can listen to her and that we meet here on screen, and it feels already very wonderful. So Shaykha Fariha is Dharma successor of Sheikh Muzaffer Osak of Istanbul. And so was also Lex Hickson, the first, one of the first Dharma holders also of Bernie. And so she is part of our Zen Peacemaker family. And we are also from the heart part of her wonderful community, which she runs in and guides in New York. Her community is called the Nuru Akshi Rihari Sufi community. And it is wonderful that we now can listen about her practice, her community, and about her life of a praise. So please, Shaykha Fariha, you are warmly welcome to us, to speak to us. Thank you so much.
So much. I'll make both gestures of bowing and the Sufi gesture from the heart bowing. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Roland. And thank you, all of you and each of you, because we're both a collective and individuals, all of us. And as we were in silence, it struck me that it was so appropriate. I know that silence is a very significant part of the Zen path. And interesting enough, it's very much part of the Sufi path, not always applied, but it has its moments. We begin in New York when we were meeting physically, we would often begin our Zikr ceremony, which is very vocal and singing and chanting, dancing with silence. And then we would also usually end with silence. So we still do the ending part on the Zoom. We end in silence because the creation, it says, began in silence. And I would like to speak to you today about the general Sufi viewpoint on the origin and nature of creation. So it speaks of, first of all, it speaks of an ongoing creation. So there is never, you can say, ultimately an end and a beginning, but certain portions of cosmos begin and end. So for that, it says that the supreme reality was alone. And in that aloneness rose the desire to be known. And so there is a Sufi phrase that says, I was a hidden treasure. This is the voice of the reality, supreme reality. And I longed to be known. So I brought forth creation. And so this is, in a sense, the nature and purpose of creation is to know and to praise. Ultimately, of course, it says that it is the source praising itself, knowing itself, returning, reflecting itself, its own image in creation. So with that desire, excuse me, which is really the desire of love. It's the desire for companionship, you could say, and so brought this supreme reality brings forth almost like in an explosive sense, almost like the Big Bang. And so maybe the Big Bang can be, a kind of metaphor too for this explosion of love and in the form of light. So it says the original manifestation of creation was as light. And in the Sufi Islamic tradition, it says that the light said, it spoke, the light by its very nature is expressive, is speaking, and it says, La ilahe illallah. But of course, the mystics know and interpret that in a universal way. So it doesn't have to have said it in those Arabic words, but in a deeper sense of only the reality is real. So again, like a kind of tautology, but only the one reality is real. So that what we see as separateness, as individuals, is all part of this one supreme being and reality. But the being only really manifests its beingness through, you would say, the visible light. Otherwise, it's unknown. And so the Sufis, the mystics, say even that there are levels of reality. So Ibn Arabi, who's considered the greatest mystic and interpreter of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his own revelation and mystery, he said that there are levels that we know, of course. We see creation and this great metaphor or mirror of reality. And then there are levels that are called secret, but that we can come to know, which is you might say, the well springs behind creation, the well springs of creation. And then beyond that, we know that what the unknown, but even the unknown has a further level where he says, we know that we cannot even know. So there are levels that we don't even know we don't know. And that's the deepest, let's say, mystery, level of mystery and unattainability. And yet the unattainability follows this kind of channel into complete manifestation, which is who we are and what we are. So we are kind of comprised of both this inner mystery and this what appears at moment by moment freshly from the source. So when the light cries or expresses that only reality is real, la ilahe illallah, the hidden essence replies, Muhammad Rasulallah, and Muhammad is my messenger. Peace be upon Muhammad and all the Muhammadan manifestations. So again, it can be taken as part of that lineage, the Sufi Islamic lineage, that Muhammad as an embodied being, as a Buddha, I think what is called the prophets, and there are said to be 124,000 prophets, are the Buddhas. It's the same nature of these human beings who are filled with light and guidance for humanity. And so in this tradition, it says there are 124,000, at least, of them. But Muhammad, in the name, means the praising, the praiseworthy, and the praising, the one who praises the source. And is therefore, you might say, also praiseworthy, or the one who is the location, the locus of the praise from the source. So Muhammad in that level means all humanity. So Muhammad is really the name of humanity, who is praiseworthy. And then, of course, if we enlarge that understanding, it says, and this is in Quran, that all of creation is part of the human being. So, and I'm sure many of these things I'm mentioning are similar in your tradition, so that the entire creation is, of course, one being, we could say, and also, but that the human has a very specific place in it, like the heart of creation. So, you know, in the environmental tradition, for instance, we thought 20 years ago, 10 years ago even, we were thinking, oh, if only we could get rid of people, though, you know, this was how many environmentalists thought, well, then everything would be okay, creation would flourish. But mystically, in this Sufi tradition, that's not the case, because the human being is the seal. It's both like the origin of the whole and also the seal of the whole. And when that, it says that the last complete human being, the last human being who is praising the source by their very being is gone, the entire creation will fold up. So that's the beginning with the light, and the end, it will complete this creation, of course, not the entirety of creation, but will fold up, and then will come, you know, as we know, these further, that many of you are familiar with in the Judeo-Christian Islamic understanding of the hereafter, and then higher levels of life that are more subtle, that are light-based, and you know, maybe perfected. Sheikh Nur, or Nur, let's call him Lex Nur, would describe as God's perfect dream. In other words, paradise is considered God's perfect dream. So to go back to the origin, this is, as you see, there's the praise is part of the origin and the nature of the entire creation. So it is said that everything, and this is said in the Quran, that everything praises the one, everything, just by its very being. So a rose blossoming, the thorn as it pricks, everything, all the cellular levels, all the material levels, all subtle levels are all like a vibration of praise. And I mean, we consider it vibration, resonance, that itself is praise. And so our zikr is that, our zikr is praise. You know, so that's why we chant, we move, and we feel that it is really Allah praising Allah through us, that we are the channels and the means through which the source praises itself, loves itself, admires itself. It's sort of an unusual way of seeing. But one of the, you know, directives given by the source, by God, by Allah, to humanity is praise me or remember me. It's more often translated as remember me and I will remember you. Faskuruni eskorkum washkuruli wala takfuruni. So remember me and I will remember you. Be grateful to me. So that's the fashkuruni, and do not hide yourself from me. So this is a, you know, if we think of all the commands given, so this is really to say, you know, turn to me, have me constantly in your field of awareness, and may gratitude be always arising for your own being, for your own life, and for the life of everything around you, and for all that I have endowed upon you. So, so in the Sufi Islamic view, the human being is the center, is the Khalif, is called, of creation. That means the one who has all the divine praises within them. And, you know, another part of the early creation event was shown also in Quran through, it's a magnificent setting where Allah has just formed the Muhammad, the first human being, which is the Adam Eve, the primordial, we call them primordial human being, primordial Adam. And then Allah asks the angels, and then it says Allah blows the breath into this human form, blows his breath. So at first there's the material form, presumably with, you know, all the elements of the nerves, the brains, all the functioning organs and systems of this cosmos, really, which is the human being, is its own cosmos. But then Allah's breath, the divine breath, Allah blows into this human form, Allah's own spirit. And then Allah says to the angels, bow down to Adam. And the angel is it's a fascinating exchange, because then the angels see all the harm that people will do with their angelic, intelligent foresight. And they say, but how can we bow down to this person who's going to be, you know, causing bloodshed and unhappiness and confusion on earth? And then God turns to the human form. Allah turns to the human being, now with the spirit of the divine within their breast, and says, when at first he asked the angels, tell me the name and nature of everything in the cosmos. So this is presumably at a time when the cosmos is already present, all the, you know, animals and plants and different levels, and earth and sky, water. And the angels then are kind of puzzled, and they say, really, we only know what you tell us. And so they admit ignorance. And so the angels are considered divine intelligences, that more like a rational intelligence. And so they admit that they don't know. And then Allah turns to this primordial human being and says, now you tell them the names of everything. And then Adam begins naming everything in creation, and therefore reveals that it really has the divine intelligence and the divine knowing. And, you know, so for the mystics, that Adam is really you might say, the created vessel of Allah, of the divine one, of the Holy One within this form. So these are the names, and it's called names of God, Asmaul Husna. It's called the most beautiful names, and they belong to the divine one, and they belong to us. They belong to creation. But it says in the human being, they are complete. They have all the names. Maybe in creation, don't have absolutely all the names that are given to the human being. And that makes the human being in a sense, the responsible one. So the Khalif is the one who represents the source, and but should represent, of course, for the good and to bring about more good. So the names are the ways on the Sufi path that we praise our source. And these were given to us, as I said in the very beginning. And every Sufi path has certain names which it uses to walk the path, in a sense, and to unlock divine truth and unlock itself, because we say that the truth is here. I mean, and that's not quite visible. The truth is here in our own breast. We are also the hidden treasure who longs to be known. And it's that longing in each of us that sets us on a path of seeking, a path of unveiling, and path of knowledge. And then, of course, comes the unknowing after the knowing. That was a favorite of Bernie, the the not knowing. And it's a complete, I think also in Judaism and in Christianity and in Sufism and in Islam, it's also a very important realization that actually we don't know. And it's a place of the mystics, you know, but still not knowing, we still praise. So the praises that are used in most all Sufi paths are mainly two, and that is la ilahe illallah. So that was the original praise. It said, spoken by this first burst of light. Inwardly, we repeat what the hidden source, what the hidden being, the Gaib, the hidden one said, Muhammad Rasulallah, meaning for us, of course, both the Muhammadan Buddha prophet and also Muhammad as the humanity, Nas, the humanity, Insan, the human being, the really, you know, you might say primordial human being. La ilahe illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So we start all our zikrs that way. So most Sufi orders have that. I mean, I think all of them. I would be surprised if there were one without. The second name that is used also to unlock inner secrets within our own breast is Allah. Allah, just the name calling on the source. Allah, Allah, Allah. And that's a very powerful name. In fact, it's called the name of power. And then from then on, it differs. Some Sufi paths have a certain set of names, others different set of names. We, which is apparently not that common, use as our third name the name Hu, which is essence. So it refers to the hidden essence, which is both hidden but everywhere. So Hu is, like you might say, the ultimate beingness of everything, the Hu. So we say Hu, 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 and we will repeat those three today. Now, Sheikh Musafir and others, in his book, Adornment of Hearts, has illustrated how each name corresponds to a different level of the human being. So it's spoken of that the human being has 7 levels, you know, the biological level, then the level where, so the biological is purely survival level. Then there's the level where, you know, there's consciousness, which is kind of countering or working with the biological level and has certain reflectiveness. And then it goes on up until the highest level, where the human being is completely merged in the light, but not disappeared. And that's an important distinction, where merged, like it says, like a diamond in water. So it's not like the salt or the sugar in water, which completely dissolves. It after that dissolution, it's called fana, disappearing or dying. And this is a complete mystery, of course, and it only comes about through the divine alchemy. How then the human form, but as a clarified and purified form, returns and becomes like that diamond. So the sugar or the salt kind of reconstitutes in like an archetypal or primordial or completed, you might say, fulfilled human form. And those are, you could say, the Buddhas, the Arhats. They are the illumined human beings, the completely realized human beings, or this diamond in water. So, you know, maybe I'll conclude my little talk with this from Heart of Quran, which was one of the books of Lex Hixon that he wrote after meeting Sheikh Musafir, and where he really plunged into the Quran deeply and came forth with, kind of a very illumined intellect regarding the Quran. So he wrote that book, which is based on these tiny little ayats of Quran. So the Quran was revealed like little lightning flashes almost in the Prophet's consciousness. And but then Nur, Lex, expanded upon each of these. And this one is called Praise. So I thought it was suitable for our talk today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And whenever we chant from Quran or recite Quran, we say Bismillah, in the name of Allah, all loving, all compassionate, all merciful. Whatever human beings say about reality, whatever advanced concepts they may hold, the ultimate source who is now speaking will always be more exalted. All that is possible for any being is to praise Allah Most High, for none can describe him. The very nature and function of being itself is to praise the source and goal of being. So I'll repeat that. The very nature and function of being itself is to praise the source and goal of being. The entire temporal universe, as well as the 7 eternal realms and all the forms of consciousness they contain, are simply the living praise of the ever-present source. To be is to praise Allah. Human beings fail to perceive this boundless praise arising spontaneously from all minds and hearts, or else they would understand instantly why such utter compassion and forgiveness flow to every being from the source of love. So I think that's sums it up, really. Everything is known to be living. Everything has its own form of praise. And in fact, another beautiful Quranic verse is where it's said that the birds open their wings in flight, in praise. This is their form of praise. And then it says, "Oh, human being, everything praises me, but you do not understand their praise." So we think of Solomon or something who could actually understand, and the great Buddha, Solomon, who could speak with different beings in creation and understand their language. So there's even a lovely passage about an ant when Solomon was riding out in all his glory with his troops, and the Quran focuses on the speech of an ant, and the ant says, "Oh, all my people," it says, get deep in your holes, because Solomon is coming in all his glory and he will trample us." And so, presumably, hopefully they'll listen to her. And then the Quran switches back to Solomon, who could actually hear her. So it was, the Buddha nature, the prophetic nature, which is in touch with the entire and can hear what is happening. And it said that he smiled, that, at the reaction of the ant, and that she recognized really was the glory of the Creator in him, and took refuge from that. So so what we could do is we can either have the questions now, since maybe the questions relate to the conversation, and then end maybe with the zikr. Maybe, is that better, or what do you think? I defer to you. What do you think, Barbara and Roland? What time's 12:33? The zikr won't be long. I'll just give you a taste of, some of you have experienced it, and but I think it's,
I think it's a nice idea to open now, to the question, because your talk is so alive now for all of us.
Yeah.
So it was so beautiful. So I have a very warm heart already listening to this beauty and this call to the longing and praise. It's really beautiful. Thank you very, very much, Fariha.
Yeah. So that,
That's another form a word we use often. Alhamdulillah. It's like, thank you, oh God, thank you, Source, thank you, One. Alhamdulillah, we say that a lot. So yes, I think let's open out to questions. And I also want to acknowledge my debt and the debt of my teacher, Sheikh Nuru, to Bernie, and what an enormous being he continues to be. And I just want to mention the best time I spent with him was on the street retreat. And even though I didn't spend the whole time, because I guess I was like too pampered to spend like 5 days in the rain and cold of New York City, but I did spend a couple of days as part of that retreat. Ali, my husband, actually went the whole time and suffered on the banks of the Hudson, sleeping. But I feel I took in the essence, maybe not quite as much the hardship, physical, but definitely the spiritual. Oh my God, I got such a teaching for being on the other side, on the side of the homeless and feeling rejected by society. That was probably the most important, apart from the companionship with Bernie, which was probably the most important. Second to that was this all of a sudden, I almost, like that shamed, like in the beginning, I kept saying, but I'm just doing this as an experiment or as a retreat, but that rejection and seeing oneself completely outside of society. Wow. I mean, of course, not completely outside, but that was an amazing, important spiritual teaching for me. And then the beauty of the companionship with Bernie, and I'll never forget our walk from Lower Manhattan up to St. John the Divide, walking through the city and seeing Bernie's interaction with people while we're crossing, people walking or stopping to talk, or we stopped in Washington Square for a good time. And his humanity is I have to say, is amazing. And so, God, I bow to Bernie and and Eve and the whole order, all of you teachers. I truly, so we're really like this, I want to say, because also since Nur Lex came also from that tradition, he definitely brought it in to the Sufi tradition. And we even have one of our chants, we call them ilahis, God songs, or songs of praise, goes, it's very much like almost kind of like a Zen. Rest in the knower, one heart eternal, radiant open space. This is your nature. So that's just one verse from what we sing in the Zikr. Yeah. So, all right, well, let's have questions if there are questions, and we'll look for them. As you can raise your hand electronically, I think. Yeah.
I like to add that we were students of Sufi lineage before we met Bernie.
Oh.
And then we were invited as Sufis.
Oh.
We were studying for 10 years
Oh my
in
goodness.
the Sufi lineage. But we were the silent Sufis, not the dancing Sufis.
Oh, the Ni'matullahi or the...
It is Naqshbandiya Mujahidiyya lineage. It's going back to by Saib and Irina Tweedy.
Oh,
And Llewellyn van
oh,
Vogenlee. He is
yes,
the successor of
I know,
Irina Tweedy.
of course, we've met. Alhamdulillah, that's great. How
Yeah.
interesting.
So
How,
I was doing mantras day and night, and Barbara too,
yeah.
day and night, the
Wow,
Sufi mantra.
wow,
So
wow.
that was one technique we did. We did dream work a lot
Uh-huh.
and then silent meditation.
Work
But
inside.
for me, the most important thing was the opening of the heart.
Right,
The
right,
whole technique for me was just open your heart,
right,
forget the thinking and the thinking mind,
right.
but open your heart, and that leads you to God, to love. And
Yeah.
Bernie told it not knowing for me. That
Yes,
was Bernie's not knowing.
yes,
That's why I feel still as a Zen,
yeah.
also a Sufi.
Also a Sufi. Yes. Well, that's I'm so, wow, it's so touching to know that. And you're right. I mean, this is where these mystical lineages join, or they come from the same source, and it's so clear. That's, wow, that's beautiful. But Bernie gave you then maybe the way to live it in humanity, or to live it, to really bring that out and manifest it. And I mean, yeah, that's
I
amazing.
can say he was my Sufi teacher.
Yes, yes. Wow, that's great. Yes, of course. And Sufism is that I don't consider, it rises specifically from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his lineage, but it's like an essence. And so we have the essence of all these major sacred paths, traditional paths, which then when you compare the essence, it's so close, maybe is it the clear light, or the fragrance beyond fragrance, or yes, but love, yeah,
Yes.
love is the, well, we place it in the whole cosmic drama. In fact, Sheikh Nuru would call it cosmic drama of love, that love is the beginning, the way, and the end of all, the reason for everything to be. But you can't just say love, love, love. That doesn't mean anything. You never have to say the word love, and yet you can manifest love and be beautiful. Thank you, Roland. Thank you. So I see a raised hand. Okay. Yes, Mioshin, raise hand.
Thank you, Shaykha. You mentioned breath of Allah entering the primordial human being.
Yes.
In the Christian tradition where I'm from originally,
Uh-huh.
the word is Ruach Elohim.
Ruach,
Ruach Elohim,
which is spirit. And what's the second word?
Elohim.
Elohim, the spirit of God.
Or spirit, or Ruach is wind.
Wind. Yeah, breath.
So
Breath.
I'm wondering in Quran, I wonder what the word is.
It's ruh. It's exactly nefes. It can be both ruh, which is spirit, but that also refers to breath, spirit, or transmitted through the breath, and nefas, the breath of God. Exactly what you said. It's so amazing. So those kind of understandings remained intact with different words. Nefes is nefs, from nefs. So we call our human sort of manifested part our nefs, but nefes means breath, originally from breathed in by the source into the human form. Nefes, beautiful. And so that's in your Christian. Are you from Korea, or where are you from?
I'm from Japan, but I studied in the divinity in seminary.
But that's a very, I've never heard that. So is it Orthodox Christian or what?
It's the Hebrew text of the creation story.
It's the Hebrew. Yeah, that's right. But some Christians have kept closer to the Hebrew texts and understand. Yeah.
We had to learn that in seminary.
Oh, you do. That's it. That's good. That's good. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Who else would like if there doesn't have to be questions, but there can be a like kind of dialogue. No. Yeah.
So I have one.
Okay.
Do you also work with dreams in your Sangha?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Dreams. Yeah. And again, not all Sufi orders work with dreams, but some do. And, again, speaking of the Hebrew text, it said Joseph, Prophet Joseph, peace be upon him, was given the ability, the knowledge to interpret dreams. So it's definitely in, that tradition. And so was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He would sit with his companions in the morning. They would gather with the friends, and he would ask them, what fresh news has come to you during the night? And so they would tell the dreams. And he said, that dream is considered, there are different proportions given. Some say that he said 1/40th of revelation, others another portion, but basically they are like revelation. And so it says, that of course revelation continues. And then of course there's the waking dream. People have waking dreams, and Ibn Arabi, the great mystic, spoke of unveilings in the heart. So the heart is the place that divine knowledge and divine openings are received. And so they're called unveilings or tajalli, or also divine rays coming and teaching. So, and they take, they have a very, very strong place. So dream and dream work and yeah, dream and dream. I mean, I'll say something here because we've all inherited many of us, let's say, have inherited from the Abrahamic traditions. And one of the events that I think has burdened people is the story of Abraham and how he was going to sacrifice his child. That how could there be a God who would ask such an amazing being as Abraham to give up what he loved most after God? So Ibn Arabi, who lived in the 12th century and has, he's called the greatest of sheikhs, and the sheikh, he's in all the Sufi lineages subtly. All his understanding, his unveiling is in all he's called the seal, also seal of knowledge. And he said that, and everything he says he received from unveiling. It's not like from the brain mind. And he says that Abraham had a dream, because that came in a dream. And in the dream, he saw himself sacrificing his son. And so he assumed that God wanted him to sacrifice his son, Isaac. And because he was so devoted to God, that, even though he asked and he waited, but when the dream kept coming, he then decided to actually go and do that. But Ibn Arabi says God never actually wanted him to sacrifice his son, that dreams need interpretation. They need an interpreter, except for certain kind of dreams. But most dreams need interpretation. And he said the interpretation that his son represented, the ram who represented the great sacrifice. And so that's open to interpretation, what that would be. We, maybe we can say on the path of God or truth, we give up ourself, we sacrifice, we offer ourself. And so that's I think a very positive, or maybe not everyone would see it as positive, but contribution to, the view of the Old Testament God as so, cruel. Some people say, oh, God, that's cruel, and actually turn away because of that. And their hearts are kind of hardened from that. So, Sufism has many insights that help the whole. Yeah.
I really love what you just shared, because I was always struggling with this story.
Oh, you were? You said people.
Oh, of course. I always thought, oh, how came that was possible, that God wanted that? So I'm really grateful that you said that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I would have another question.
Yes.
In our Sufi school, it was always said that that the teacher is the door.
Yes.
Is that so also in your school?
Yes. Yes.
And if so, do you work with your students one-to-one, or how do you work with your students?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. There is a one-to-one, but then when you have a larger community, you can't work with everyone one-to-one. So that's why, and this was Lex who set this up. He set up the circles, and like you have, I think, in your order, where there's one representative for every circle. And so that person takes on the job of, part of working through things with all of the dervishes. And there's a lot that's transmitted just through spirit and through, the spiritual waves. And so even without direct, we believe that too, even without directly speaking or like a one-to-one contact, things transmit. So come in dreams, for instance. The students or dervishes will have dreams, and then, well, maybe then they'll bring me the dreams. Yeah, that's important in our order. It is important that the dreams be heard and therefore interpreted. Yeah. So the door, the understanding of the door is a fascinating one. And, my own experience of Muzaffar Effendi was that I had, tremendous longing. Oh, there's Ali. You want to say hello? Ali, this is all your friends.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Ali. Good to see you.
Maybe we'll do the Zikr together.
Okay.
That's in 3 minutes. I know, but...
Okay, come back.
Okay. Because he has a beautiful voice. And so, yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, about the door. And so the closer, though, I wanted to come to Effendi, the more I felt like it was just like open space, There was an opening. Instead of presenting like a personality, he had a very strong personality, but that would sort of dissolve, almost like gossamer, and then it felt empty. It was quite amazing. Empty of form, maybe, of personality, although still very powerful in, what you would call divine power or divine love was there. But yes, I had exactly that experience of an open door. I'd like to actually read to you also, before we go into something else, an amazing passage that Lex had in a waking dream, and with the prophet, where the prophet takes him on a journey through paradise and teaches him, basically he receives their, profound understanding of the world, of the fire, of paradise. And so he calls, so Nur's interpretation of the fire, which is another good inflection on, you know, hell, which is that, and the Sufis all say hell is not a place. You know, we bring our own fire. But Nuru and other mystics, not just him, saw it as the divine light. So there is no change in the divine light, or like a punishing light or punishing power. It's the divine light, which is perceived though by a unprepared soul, or by a soul that has encrusted itself in its own maybe selfishness and anger, or all those things that we know that we want to free ourselves from. And then when it meets this intense presence, direct presence of divine light, it feels the burning. And that's the fire. It's the burning that comes from one's own unprepared soul meeting the intensity of God, or of the source, you know. So I'll just say here, and Noor's own experience, and he asked the Prophet, you know, about the dream level, and this is where I said that paradise is the perfect dream of God. This is what the Prophet said to him. He said, revered guide, if the experience of hell is but a dream, may not the experience of paradise, its dancing maidens, its flowing streams, its radiant dervishes, may not all this be a dream as well? So this is all being asked by Lex during his waking vision. These words, and then, my dear friend. So the Prophet calls Lex his dear friend. You have guessed the secret. Paradise too is a dream, but it is Allah's perfect dream, totally unlike the fragmentary and confused dreams experienced by earthly beings. These words kindle, and so this is Lex again talking, the ecstasy of mystical knowledge in my soul, and it realizes that this unsurpassable guide is none other than the Prophet Muhammad. Oh yes, you didn't know that in the beginning. May the peace and blessing of Allah always be upon him. And in this state of holy exaltation, the soul, meaning his own soul, Nur's soul, becomes bold enough to question the Prophet of Allah. Beloved guide, are you too a dream, telling me that hell and paradise are dreams? The most excellent of guides responds instantly and with great power. I am the dream key to the dream lock of the dream door that opens into the treasure of divine love, which alone is not a dream.
Wow, very beautiful.
So, the nature, alhamdulillah. I mean, if we have no more questions, and I want to just give my greetings. I see Grover here. Salam, peace, and love to you.
Hi, everyone. So many good friends.
You. Yes. So, all right. Well, we could get to call Ali. I'll start even without him because we're already close to 1. So, but we'll end with the Zikr, and that will be it. So it hopefully is good.
I have one more question.
Or
I had the privilege of attending your open Zikr on Zoom a couple of times, and it was beautiful. I was wondering about the repetition, the importance of repetition in the praise, and also the circling. I was amazed that they don't get dizzy. You know,
the whirling. You're
Yeah.
talking about the whirling, not the verbal repetition. The whirling.
both.
Both.
Yeah.
The repetition is because really fundamentally we understand that there is no repetition, because every moment of creation is a new this is one of the mystical, it's in the science of mysticism, that the creation is continuously like a pulsar, created anew. And every new creation, which is below, let's say, what scientists maybe have perceived, it's called a waqt in Sufism, a waqt, the essential moment. And every time it's new. So every moment we both disappear, that disappearing we were speaking of, and reappear, disappear, reappear, disappear, reappear. So there's nothing, so everything is fresh all the time. So even though it looks like we're repeating, there's no actual repetition, but also on another level, because we do carry from one thing to the next, that the repetition is like a deepening, just like, if you want to drill a hole, something through an edifice or through a wall, you have to, keep drilling. So you keep repeating, or musical patterns also. You create an overall state of well-being, also musically, often through repeating or coming back to, it depends which music you're listening to, but drumming, for instance, is very repetitious. So that it actually has a physiological also effect of putting one in a state of ecstasy and opening. And then the whirling, it takes training though, not to get dizzy. There's certain techniques, like you're supposed to look at your hand or the left hand, so you focus on something that's still point. But it does take a little training. What I do when we're actually physically together is just say, go very slow. They're going very quickly because they've been whirling for years. But you can just whirl, you can even just whirl with your hands on your chest or even hands down, but better keep your hands like this, and then very slowly you can go around. That will already give you the sensation and experience of whirling. And it says that whirling itself is a form of praise. And so that everything is really whirling. I mean, everything we look at has a whirl, center around which it revolves. So, well, maybe we'll just do it because I don't know when Ali's going to get. Let me just call his name and I'll come back and we start, and then he'll come in whenever he comes in.
Sure.
His style, as those of you who know him. Ali is.
Here he is. Great.
I'll just go around the corner and call his name.
Barbara, were you twirling too? Were you able to twirl?
We were the silent Sufis. So our practice was called yoga practice. And that was that we just were sitting still in silence, and we cultivated love in our heart. We tried to feel love in our heart, and we put all the thoughts in this love.
Oh.
So it was quite like a meta practice, but without words. It was really just feeling the love and being completely immersed in this love.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our Sufi grandmother, Irina Tweedy, she was a very powerful Russian woman. And so once in a talk she gave this instruction, and then there was a woman in the audience, and the women said, I can't feel love in my heart. And then Mrs. Tweedy said, this is not true. Maybe you like your washing machine, so please use this love and to start, So, and yeah, I think it was really a very beautiful practice. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Everyone can do it.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And the heart, yeah, it's all in the heart. It's all in the heart. Yeah.
And practicing a Zikr all the time means that you start with the idea, with repeating the sacred, the mantra, but after a certain time, it just comes and goes and comes and goes and just works on its own.
Yes. So he gave you, he said to repeat continuously the name of Allah.
Yes,
Yeah.
with the breath.
Yeah, with the
That's
breath.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what actually it's true. Many Sufi orders have the Allah. And alhamdulillah. Yeah. That's what it's mostly the continuous zikr is either la ilaha illallah
Yeah.
or Allah.
This we practice too.
Yeah. Oh, you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's we can close our eyes, although I know that Lex often practiced meditation, he said, with his eyes open, which was contrary, interesting enough, to recommendation. And I'm sure that made quite some interesting experiences, but it's sometimes easier to focus if we close our eyes and helps us focus in the place of the heart. So we'll, as you say, we'll go from the head to the heart and feel the presence and power of the heart. And the life of the heart and the voice of the heart. So this is a zikr actually originating in the heart itself and originating in this origin of la ilaha illallah, of the light, chanting la ilaha illallah, and of the inner hidden essence responding Muhammad Rasulallah. And know that one reality alone exists, calling itself by countless beautiful holy names. And know that humanity is the light of this reality. And know that Muhammad is the messenger of this reality in an ancient lineage of prophets, mothers, and Buddhas. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. So you can repeat with us. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la la Muhammad Rasulallah. Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah. 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 Allah, 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 ya Hazreti Allah. So let's no, I wouldn't say that I do that. So
که بینم بینشم که منم که ببینم مرا چنان که منم یار گفتی اسرار در میان آور کو میان کن در این میان که منم کن در این میان که منم بحر من غرق گشت هم در خویش بلک عجب بهر بیکران که منم گویای بی زبان کن در این میان بهر بیکران که منم یا